This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So anyway, welcome everyone. I'm really excited about what's been happening in real estate. We have been crazy, as everyone is aware. If you look at what's been going on with Flex, I've been looking at this a lot. I'm sure you guys have as well. If you look at the 24-hour hot sheet, even here, this is just our normal Central Oregon. New listings, 38 new listings in the last 24 hours, but 51 pendings. This has been going on for the last month. We have far more going pending than we have coming on board, which is creating more and more stress on the inventory that we have. It's obviously getting pretty challenging because, again, 51 pendings, 38 new listings, meaning we have fewer and fewer properties out there for people to offer on. And this is the reality of what we're seeing right now with all the multiple listings, multiple offers on our listings. Just really challenging times. And because of that, it is, as we all know, when you're dealing with buyers, buyers have got to go out there with their best offer. They've got to go out there and ask and offer their very best price and then expect to go back into a multiple offer scenario. One of the things that a seller always has to be careful about is when they go back and ask for highest and best, is that sometimes that very best offer that came in early, they may not want to be involved with the highest and best scenario. And when that happens, unfortunately, that seller may lose out on the very best offer. That actually happened within our office. We had one of our brokers offer on a property real early, asked for a quick turnaround, and then the seller ignored their offer because they had more offers coming in. And at the point of time when the listing agent asked for highest and best and came back to our agent said, well, my clients elected not to get involved with it. The offers expired and they went on to something else. And obviously the listing agent was disappointed because I think their offer was the very best from the start, but they didn't want to play the game, and that's one of the risks that you run. But the reality also is that we're having an awful lot of people when we have the multiple offer scenarios that the seller is getting far above asking price. The concern is always whether or not these properties will appraise at that, but there's a lot of cash buyers in here too that are setting a new level of a new level of what they're willing to pay for a property. I'm kind of going to jump around a little bit because I was still waiting for my emails to pop up. But before we get into the thing about how to be effective on floor, I had some things I needed to share with you guys about what's going on here. I had a shared database meeting on the 21st of July. I'm on a committee with Southern Oregon and with Klamath Falls and Central Oregon. There's about 3 of us from Central Oregon who serve on this committee, in which we're talking about how moving forward with a shared database, how this all works. There are things that are coming up as everything's been rolled out with Flex that is new. For instance, one of the things that was very new to Southern Oregon and Klamath Falls was the idea of commission paid on seller concession. Whether or not, if there's this concession, we're not going to have commissions paid on that. I was not part of our local MLS committee when that became the norm in Central Oregon, but it was not something that was ever seen in Southern Oregon nor in Klamath Falls. And there's been a lot of pushback from Southern Oregon and Klamath Falls on that. In particular, one from a Klamath Falls brokerage who said this cost them like a lot of money in commission, and they went in front of the advisory council and said, I want that removed. And basically the advisory council said, okay, I guess we will do that. So be aware that coming forward on your forms, let me pull those up here. Hope everyone knows where to go for those forms in zip forms when you pull them up here. Viewing the forms. When you go to your forms library, remember we have Oregon real estate forms, we have Central real estate forms, but we now have the Oregon data share forms. That's the ones that are shared with Southern Oregon, Central Oregon, and Klamath Falls. This is where all of our input sheets are now. So if you go to the residential property data form, that's where it is now. And again, this is where the section is here, commission paid on seller's concessions, yes or no. And so we've had yes or no, and then there's a way here now to make a comment about it. This field will probably be going away. That's not to say that you can't have a listing in which a seller insists that I don't want to pay commissions on seller concessions, but you can still include that information in agent details so that the agent on the other side is aware there'll be no commission on seller concession, but this field will be going away. That'll happen with the next update that we're doing on it. Another thing that came out of this is the idea of sub additions. Now, when you go and do a quick search, remember with old Rapatoni here in Central Oregon, we had our additions, our subdivisions, we call them additions, and now with a shared database, it's subdivisions. So if I click on subdivisions, I start selecting, I'm just selecting Broken Top. I do that a lot just because I know Broken Top quite well. You can see under Broken Top, we have 3 other things within Broken Top: Bridge Creek, Courtyard, and Painted Ridge. These are all part of Broken Top. These should be going away. We had them as a sub-addition in the past. Also, a place like Aubrey Butte, there was sub-addition 1, 2, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. They were all there as sub-additions in MLS. Most people don't think about that. They think about Aubrey Butte as just Aubrey Butte. I want to do a search of Aubrey Butte. And if someone happened to put it in under the phase 1 or phase 2, that listing may not be found. And so the discussion when we did our combined data share was to do away with additions and sub-additions and just call them subdivisions. Now, in this case, I'm assuming because we still have Bridge Creek, Courtyard, and Painted Ridge in here, this was like a holdover when they just transfer things over. These should be going away. And then when you're searching for Broken Top, you're just going to search for Broken Top, and you'll have to define Bridge Creek, Courtyard, and Painted Ridge are all townhome projects within Broken Top. You'll just have to do a search for townhomes. So that is one of the things that we were talking about as well that will be going away. Another thing that will probably be going away as well is the idea of master bedroom. It's all tied up with sensitivities towards the idea of master. It's one of the Reso things. Reso is kind of like the national, this is how we call things, and our shared database is agreed to always be Reso compliant. And with that in mind, it's being discussed with the Reso people that master will probably be going away to primary or main. I think main bedroom on the main might be a little awkward, so maybe primary bedroom on the main would be easier to say, but it's also longer than saying master on the main. Is 3 words versus primary bedroom on the main. But regardless, this will probably be going away in the future, so something to be aware of with that as well. So along those lines, I hadn't been able to pull up my forms. I'm hoping my computer, yeah, it's loaded now, so I can pull this up. Hey, thank goodness. Like, takes forever. Apologize for that. I had these all pulled up and they were all there, and they just all went away at the point of time when this all crashed. So what I'm pulling up here, this is the combined form here. This is a change that we're going to be incorporating. It's called the Listing Agreement Addendum. So this is a new form which will be there in zip forms under the shared database. It's not there yet. It just was agreed to. The Listing Agreement Addendum. So I've always thought we need something like this. This is a time in which you have a listing agreement and you need additional space to write out a change that you're making to the listing agreement. It could be something along the lines of you have a lot of verbiage you need to write, such as this property will be going into MLS in the future, or the things that you want to say, this person's excluded from the property until such and such a point in time. A place where you can actually write these exclusions down or making a change here. So it's just a space where you can write that down, have your seller sign, you sign, and then it's reviewed and becomes part of what we are. It will be in that shared database section here. So that's one of the documents. Another one is, let's go back to my email. It's this one. This is the new one, the change form. This, we've had a change order form that we've used a lot. This is a new change form. Again, this is going to be incorporated. It was just approved. This will replace our old change order form. So this is for status, date, price, and other miscellaneous changes. We have used this all the time within our brokerage as a way of having our seller change things, such as it's a new list price, the listing is now terminated, or it's reactivated from withdrawn. One thing to understand about the change forms, these are used also by MLS when we have a brokerage who doesn't do all the work within the brokerage themselves. MLS can do this for them. For instance, you can send in my property is now sold. Here's my change form for you to input it into MLS admin people who work at MLS. So this is and we could have MLS do that for us. The problem is they do charge to do this. There's additional fees involved with it, which is why we have admin people within our brokerage who do all this for us. But a lot of brokerages, or I should say some brokerages, do utilize this change form to send instructions to MLS for them. Within our brokerage, we've used this just for our clients to make changes. So this stuff down here, like the sale information, this is something that we would use if we were going to have MLS input that sale data into MLS for us. But these items right here, which are asterisks in red, are the items which we would require a seller to sign, because these are a change to the original terms of a listing agreement. That's not to say that we can also use this listing agreement addendum to do the same thing. Both of them could be used. They can intersperse, but this is just really convenient. Withdrawn, it's withdrawn with the listing still in place. This is the date. It's been activated from withdrawn status. It's been canceled. It's been terminated. There's an extension with a new list expiration date, and then the other sort of things. So these things that are asterisks, we would also require the seller to sign. Everything else, Emily uses these things every now and then to communicate information to MLS, such as when when we need to terminate a listing that's been in withdrawn status. This is past the time in which we can make the change, because we're now reactivating it with a new MLS number, and we want the days of market to start over at 0. So we use these forms to communicate with MLS all the time ourselves. But anyway, that's what that's about. Any questions on either one of these forms, guys? Anyone have a question on those? If not, I have another form I need to pull up for you. And again, I apologize for not having it ready. I had it ready and it just all went away, unfortunately. Oh. This is a form that is going to be no, not that one. Sorry, this one. No, it's not that one. Having a ORF meeting this weekend too, and there's a major change that will be discussed and voted on to the COVID-19 form. I just wanted to share this with you before we actually do the vote on it. But it's kind of an interesting thing here. If you read the COVID form that we've had and we've been using, it's been a one-page form, and it's been helpful. But this is a new idea about how it can be used better in the future. And this is based upon feedback from people who've been using it, also based upon the fact that, yeah, people may be using this and not necessarily, is there any teeth connected with it? Someone may say, well, I've got a COVID issue. In this case, this is saying that the parties agree that either of the parties, due to any of the circumstances above, written proof of which shall be provided upon the other party's written demand, may choose any of the following reasons to have a COVID extension. So in other words, we need to have proof, such as a government order restricting individual and business activities, a quarantine ordered by an attending medical professional or government authority, hospitalization of a party or a party's immediate family member, a vendor, agent, lender, attorney, or government agency whose cooperation is required to perform an act required for the closing of the transaction is unable to perform the act due to a similar impediment related to COVID-19, which is outside the reasonable control of the party here. So we check what would apply: a closing, a deadline, an inspection period, a title insurance contingency, association approval, contingent right to purchase, all these sort of things. So there's additional proof, an additional way to justify the delay this way. And I'm assuming the Board of Managers will be voting this in, and at which point in time it would be then put in a format that works well for our forms and then provided to everybody for use. But I just wanted to share that with you before we actually vote on it. Does anyone have questions on it or any feedback that I could bring to the board before we vote on it? Have you guys had any issues utilizing the COVID addendum? Have you found it having problems? Anybody? Anyone have any thoughts about that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Renee, we discussed this once, is, what's to stop somebody from delaying the process
Right.
by having their doctor write a note
Mm-hmm.
if they have a good relationship with their doctor and it's not necessarily valid.
Yeah. But in that case, the doctor would be in collusion with that person to do something unethical and incorrect. Do you think there'd be any doctors who would do that, Leah? I mean, I don't know, but perhaps there would be. But if the way this addendum is written now, the other party can request written proof that this is the reason why this is being delayed. And before, there wasn't anything in our original addendum that would require written proof. So I think this might be a better scenario, but that's a really good point, Leah. I could bring that up. What's to stop somebody who has a friend who's a doctor from just doing something like that? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what could cause something like that to happen. But there could be.
Hey, Linnea, I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
So with this form is only used when there's an issue due to COVID. The other form that we've been using is just sort of a blanket addendum that goes along with the contract. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's what we've been using. And so part of this is the first I've seen this. This is the first, I got this yesterday and I've been kind of checking it out prior to the Board of Managers meeting on Friday. But this was something, if I read the analysis of why this came about, this is the reason why. Some parties are more protected than others. Many brokerages thought it was too broad, and agents do not have an in-house form and would prefer to use a widely supported one. And these are the reasons, these are the people, the resources used to come up with this form. So there was legal counsel involved, the forms committee, and then the newsletter survey data that came out from ORF as to why we needed to do this. So this is, the changes here provides the circumstances in which the addendum applies, provides parties with choices of which sale agreement deadlines to extend, provides for proof of the COVID emergency, provides notice requirement to activate the addendum provisions. I know the other one we've been just using as a blanket, in case something like this happens, we will all agree to extend the deal. I think this would replace the existing one, and I think it would probably be used just when there's an issue. I don't know enough yet about it, though. I got to tell you, I will be asking some of those pointed questions at our board meeting. Any other thoughts about this, or anyone else has thoughts about it? If not, those were the things that I felt I really needed to talk a little bit about before we got into the main topic of our discussion, which was to be how to be effective on floor. And I know we have some brokers who do an amazing job on floor, and there are things that they do that, for whatever reason, seems to really engage people that they talk to. For other people, they don't seem to have that same technique. And I thought if we kind of did a round table and discussed what seems to work and other things that seem to make people run away, it would be helpful for us to kind of all learn from each other on that. So I'd like to open it up, and please let me know if you have a comment or something that you thought could be helpful for people to hear. So anybody?
Yeah, I'll say something. This is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'll wait.
Okay, well, I was just wondering if someone could give advice on perhaps like an opening statement or conversation starter to talk to someone that's outside looking at the flyer. I know someone mentioned to like say a joke and just use that every time. But I'm just wondering if there's other strategies that people use.
Okay, for me, when I go out there, I have something in my hand. I have a restaurant pamphlet. I have something that I could give them to start the conversation, or I ordered those little alcohol packages. So I go out with something.
Oh, that's great.
A little gift.
Yes. So you might need a map. So I go out there with my map. It's stapled, my card's stapled to it. And then it's something to give them, say, hey, look, are you here? Do you need a restaurant? Do you need something? And then that could break into real estate for me. And I've had good luck on floor time.
Wonderful. Does someone else have something to share about what really seems to work for them?
Is I go out and greet them. And then as, I don't know others' experience, but I get a lot of, oh, we're just looking, oh, hi. And so I always intro with, well, let me just, what's going on in our real estate values. And then I quote, the median price of this town is such and such. On the west side, on the other hand, where we are and to the west is our premium real estate. And then I quote that median price. And that leads into a conversation about where are you from? You look pretty good. You know, because a lot of these folks are out of Seattle or Northern Cal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then they, you know, they say something somewhere in there, they never leave without a laugh or a smile at a joke I've made or a sardonic comment, whatever.
So Elizabeth, we start off by talking about real estate right from the start.
Well, I'm like, well, you're looking, let me share with you what the value is in this town. Or if they're looking really hard, I'll lean in and go, oh, I do the same thing. Wherever I travel, I look like here. And that usually gets them laughing. And I go, let me share with you the value in this town. Because that's what they're looking at. They're trying to figure out, is this place expensive? That's what they're trying to figure out. If they're from out of the area, they're either looking to see what would my life look like, how expensive the town is. But that's one of the first things. That's the icebreaker. And then they start asking me questions, because if you pepper them with questions, they will run away.
So you try to get them to ask you questions.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
At some point, do you have any questions? What are your thoughts?
Okay.
You know what? I've always enjoyed talking to strangers, so you got to be comfortable doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more you do it, the better it'll be.
Wonderful. I got emails from a couple of people who couldn't be here today, but they did want to share what's going on with them. I've had people who say that they don't want to come across as being too pushy, but what they do is they just like to talk and they make it personal. Got someone else who actually says, you know, they always greet them, say, you know, ask them if they have questions, then always ask where they're from, and then ask if they considered moving or relocating to Central Oregon, and talk a little bit about their personal experience having done that. And then even if they're not really interested in real estate, ask them if they're interested in names of any restaurants or places to go or things to do while they're visiting here. And that will engage people right away into a conversation. Well, yeah, we would like to know where to go. Where's a good place to go for dinner, or something, where's a great hike, or where's a great place to go, you know, things like that. And then if they do seem interested in real estate, then you try to find out what's important to them. Find out what is of really important to them. Are they retiring? Are they moving with children? Do they have pets? Find a way to relate. And again, one of the most important things, according to this person, is to always try to at least get a phone number and contact information. Share your app, give them your card, so that way at least they have a way of communicating back to you. And if you can somehow get their information, that's key, because then you can follow up and send them more information based upon your brief conversation with them. That's what some person told me on their email.
Yeah, I'd say to follow up on that, I always bring my phone out with me, and I generally have pockets in my pants, and I find that extremely helpful to just pull it out and go to my notes section and put their contact information in there. And I've had great success with that without having to run back inside and get a piece of paper or a notepad, or, you know, especially during COVID, some people don't want to come inside. So yeah, it's been helpful to bring my phone out with me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And there are people who won't be comfortable going inside, and we have to be careful about, that's why I did send out that email, that's a side note, about the really importance of keeping that mask on when you are on floor. It is really important that when they look in those windows, they see you are sitting at that front desk, but that mask is on you. And they feel more confident at that point talking with you, knowing that you haven't been breathing over everything. Just, there's people who have a lot of fear, and rightly so. We are seeing an uptick of COVID cases around the state, and so be very careful about that. But people will have more confidence in you if you are showing that with the mask on, you are treating this seriously. Plus, you're here to answer their questions and to help them find real estate, because there's so many people leaving, as you say, Seattle or Northern California, because they want to be in an area that has more openness, more activities for families and themselves to be participating in. So it's real important for us to come across as people they can trust, not only with their real estate, but also with their health. So that's important too. Anybody else with information that they'd like to share about what seems to work? I mean, I've heard from some people who have some patent jokes that seem to work. Does anyone here have something that they can share that with a joke that seems to break the ice with people?
Well, in my experience, people like something personable. So everyone has a story. Everyone has a story how they landed.
Okay.
And the story is, I came here on a date and I fell in love, but not with him. And the men laughed more than the women at that one. And that, it cuts the ice. And I said, you know, a year later after that trip, I moved myself and the 10-year-old, and everybody thought I was. I laugh and say I think it was more like a midlife rebirth, but it is what it is, and we're happy. So everyone has their own story. Everyone has to. One of the things I talk about is how my kid said, why is everyone talking to us? And from out of the area, they will notice that everybody talks to everybody here. It's not just realtors. And so, you know, your children will notice that too. And it's a great kid environment. It's a great way to raise your children.
Right.
And so if you keep making ties to their life and you pick the lines as for who's standing in front of you. If it's a retirement couple, it's one thing. If it's a family, it's another.
Very good. So sharing a little bit about the reason why you came to Central Oregon and what you love about it. Might be a way of getting people to live.
Adventism, and everybody, most of us are, and most of those people are from somewhere else. This place has become like Las Vegas. Where are you from? Where are you from? You know, if you engage, you have to find similarity and commonality to get people to lean in. I use my stats and my numbers to give me credibility in terms of, oh, she knows the market. And then I soften up. This is my story. What's yours?
Okay, good. I know that I've talked with a few people who have discovered when they talk about and asking where people are from, that seems to break the ice, and there seems to be some commonality that if you find someone is from a certain city, it's like, oh, I have a cousin that lived there, or oh, I've been there before. So you can talk, and it's been shocking when people have told me that, oh yeah, I met someone who knows my relative who lives in that town. It's amazing how small the country can be when you're talking with people who happen to be walking down the sidewalk here in Bend, Oregon, that people from all over seem to like to come here for a visit, if nothing else. And it is a great opportunity to be able to talk with people.
Yeah, and Linnea, it's actually not just people from out of town. I ended up on floor meeting a buyer of a house that Rachel and I sold last summer. And just through talking to her, she stopped and looked, and we were talking and chatting, and it come to find out, I asked her, I said, oh, are you so-and-so? And just from the things that we were talking about, I put it together that she was a buyer of the house that we sold last spring. So, and she's like, oh, I have mail for your clients, and let me give you my number. And anyway, so it happens with the local people too. But yeah, just to go off of what Elizabeth said, you know, Rachel and I both have, you know, the approach of, you know, just going out and talking to people and, you know, trying to make that common, you know, kind of connection. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about real estate. It sometimes goes there, which is wonderful. But, you know, people don't like to be approached that you're going to try to sell them a house right away, you know, and that definitely sends people running and packing whenever I've tried to do that. And so finding that commonality and something that you have to talk about with them and make that connection has definitely proven for us to be, you know, the best approach.
Yeah, a commonality. I agree. That seems, when brokers tell me that they connected with this person, it seems to be having a common interest in something. I mean, it could be having been from a place, could be a common interest in an activity or a type of food or a restaurant you enjoy, things like that. People like to work with people who they like, you know, people with common interest. Yeah. Anybody else?
Linnea? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Hi,
go
Dana.
ahead. Oh, so I haven't done floor in a while, but one of my tricks to kind of go out there and not make people feel uncomfortable is that I would walk out with a stack of flyers like I was going to be filling the flyer rack. So it didn't look like I was purposely coming out to accost them, that I was coming out for another task. And then I happened to just start talking to them. So it's like I would use old flyers that I wasn't even a real listing. I would just look like I was getting ready to put them on the rack. And so it was just a way to break the ice.
Oh, that's a great little tidbit. Thanks. That's a good idea.
I do that too, Dana. That's funny. I always go out and make, you know, like pretend I'm looking for something on the flyer rack, and that usually sends them, they don't run away.
Great idea, guys. Thank you.
Linnea, what about, is there any ideas that somebody would have that we had a personalized Ben Premier pamphlet on certain stats or something? Would that be a fun thing to put together? To go out to give to people?
That's not a bad idea either. I mean, there was a time in which we were producing on a single flyer, like all of our listings. Of course, they get out of date immediately, but we had for a period of time, here's a sample of all of our listings. You know, right now, I've been told that a lot of people who seem to be interested in what we're selling are people who are looking for second homes, even the fractionals, the Mount Bachelor Village, the Inn of the Seventh Mountain, the second home market right now seems to be, people are looking for something like that. Not a bad idea. What are you thinking about, Cinda? What do you think would be a good pamphlet for us to put together?
I don't know, maybe featured, maybe have a couple featured top listings, or, so, you know, it can't be too much because then people, it's too overwhelming. But just like the population, or a certain, maybe, I don't know, it might be hikes, it might be restaurants, it might be just something personalized. I'm not quite sure where to go with that. Market stats, but that's going to change. I'm not quite sure, but that's my idea. Something that goes, hey, we just want to let you know what's going on in the real estate market here. You might find this interesting.
We at one point, Rachel had helped us quite a few years ago develop a map of downtown restaurants, and immediately that went out of date immediately too. But it was still something of value that we would hand out that was branded to the broker. So we were able to put together a map, and we got some ideas from Visit Bend and kind of reproduced it. And then it was easy to brand to each broker. So you were able to go out there and hand them something of value, such as, here's a map of our downtown restaurants, which you might find helpful. And again, branded.
Yeah, and then along with notes of, you know, this is our current population, our current mid price, something that really goes back to real estate too.
Yeah. I'm writing some of these ideas down. Does anyone else have ideas here? Something you want to talk about?
You know, I'm not funny, so I can't go out there with jokes. So I need to give them something and have a reason to go out there. So that's my idea. I always have to have something in my hand to go out there with and say, this is, here, I want to give you this. You might find this interesting. And then start talking. Right.
Now we have lots of the Central Oregon maps. You know, we have tons of those that you could, you know, staple your contact information on, you know, like a business card on that, and hand them out to people. That's just the Central Oregon maps. They're probably a couple years out of date, but we haven't changed that much in a couple of years. So we do have those to hand out. Other ideas, guys?
Could you do a updated market stats thing so that it was active for just that week?
I could do like a monthly updated market stats. The data in MLS, they usually post it each month as to what's happening. I mean, I could do a weekly thing about new listings, sales, things like that. But are you thinking like what I blog about, Joe? Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, just a little handout. Doesn't even have to be much, you know, a little fold over.
Okay, I mean, I could do like a flyer that just has some charts on it if people want to know what's going on with prices. Or are you thinking prices? Are you thinking sales?
Average sale price, you know, time on the market, available inventory, that kind of stuff, you know, stuff that's current. Here's the latest on the market.
Yeah, what's happening. Okay, that's helpful. And obviously that would be something you could provide to them that would be information on our market that's real estate related, but some way of, you can give them something of value. And again, I would recommend you would staple your contact information to that. I'll see what I can do on that. Thanks, Joe.
Lynette?
I also use where you're from as a opener too, and that always works. Always
Where-
works.
People like to talk about where they're from. That's true. That's good.
Lynette, also bear printing or improv, we could probably make up something that day that we're doing floor time when we start floor time. Make your own, flyer. Could you do that?
Of course you could. I mean, this is your opportunity to talk about yourself with people and to share your information. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else have something that seems to work? I hope everyone got the information I emailed out on Denny's new listing, which may hit the market today. I thought it at $329,900, that was a pretty affordable house for Bend. I think when I talked to Denny, I said I think it would be a potential nice one for an investor because it's surrounded by duplexes and triplexes, but it's a single family home, which is kind of interesting, but not a true master scenario or primary home scenario, a primary bedroom scenario. I got to get used to saying that instead of master, because it's 3 bedrooms up with a shared bathroom up and then a half bath downstairs. But still, it's a house at a good price. And I know that we have a very expensive one coming on board. It's going to be over $2 million. It's Rob Lindbergh's listing. I think we're doing the Matterport on that today. So we have new listings coming on board, but as soon as we're getting them, we're selling them. So the key right now, as I said, is inventory. Yeah.
Hey, Lynette, where's Rob's new listing, or is he able to say that yet?
I'll get that information. I think it's Tumalo. I might be wrong. No, it's Hamhook. Is that do you pronounce it Hamhook or Hamhook?
Okay, so it's on acreage.
It's on acreage. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's supposedly a beautiful manicured acreage. They don't have livestock, but it's just to me it seems like the kind of property that I'm hearing from people who are coming from outside into Central Oregon are looking for. They don't necessarily want livestock. They don't necessarily want horse property. What they're looking for is something beautiful that has views, and it has spectacular views. It has a really nice house, and it has openness, so they have elbow room. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Okay, if not, then thank you so much. And let me know if there's something we can help you with. Thanks for sharing your ideas about how to be effective on floor. I really appreciate that. I like the idea of coming out with something of value to people. Stuffing putting flyers out there, I think, is helpful too. That's a great idea. So thank you guys so much, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.